Using AI and automation, you can do several things. One, you can make sure that everybody has the same ability to execute in a way that impacts the customer in the best way, regardless of whether it's sales, marketing, customer service, or operations. AI is not new, right? And so what's new is the scale and the accessibility in which these tools and the speed in which these tools operate on now. If you take that mentality and you just come in and you bring in AI and automation without thinking through your business processes and other things from a planning and strategy standpoint, all you're going to do is amplify the existing problems that you already have. People think, oh, all I have to do is type in something in ChatGPT and now I've got AI working within my organization. And that is the furthest thing from the truth.
It's a tool, and tools don't just build houses. They have to have humans to do that. So you need that human intervention. So what does it look like to build a technology services company that's at the forefront of business process automation? Kevin Dean, the mastermind behind Manobyte, is here to reveal the secrets of using AI to streamline sales, marketing, and customer service operations. Welcome to the show.
Glad to have this conversation. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here. I think you got a lot of interesting things to share with the audience. So let's just dive in. So Manobyte, it's a leader in using AI to streamline business operations. Can you walk us through how intelligent automation can impact sales, marketing, and customer service?
Oh, man. It allows you to be able to ensure that you have consistent, scalable processes that are designed to meet the needs of your buyer or your audience. And that's key because regardless of the size of your organization, you have different individuals within your organization that have different levels of skill sets. You've got the person who's a senior guy and been with your organization for 20 plus years. He knows everything inside and out. But you've got junior people coming in year one, and they're at a different level, and they have different understandings of the business, different understanding of the customers. Using AI and automation, you can do several things. One, you can make sure that everybody has the same ability to execute in a way that impacts the customer in the best way, regardless of whether it's sales, marketing, customer service, or operations. It's really about delivering that experience consistently.
So have you done any kind of research, or has there been any research done on what kind of impact using AI to streamline business operations gives, say what kind of edge it gives to one company who does do it and another one who doesn't?
Yeah, there is a lot of data, a lot of research, a lot of statistics on the impact that it has once organizations implement. I'll give a use case. Let's talk about HubSpot. HubSpot's an interesting use case because
feeling overwhelmed, drowning into deuce? It's time to reclaim your life and transform your leadership. The Decentralized A-Team Handbook gives you the strategies to build a high-performing, autonomous team. Delegate effectively, communicate with impact, achieve extraordinary results.
One, we're a HubSpot partner. Two, HubSpot has a ton of AI, GenAI tools into their product, but they brought AI into their organization. They were using a tool called Maven AGI. The reason that they wanted to use this tool was, again, talking about the use case that we were talking about, they wanted to ensure that their senior customer service reps and their junior customer service reps could deliver to their customers with the same impact without having so many follow-up meetings. They were able to implement an internal GenAI tool that allowed them to ensure that every customer service agent could put in a question, answer it, and then reduce the number of callbacks. HubSpot being a tech company, they would have some complex use cases with their customers where their customers needed to implement code. The tool would automatically create the code for them, right? Even if you're not a developer, it's creating the code. With this, they were able to reduce the number of callbacks that they had by 25%. That's pretty significant. That's a huge reduction in follow-up meetings. Additionally, they were able to reduce research time by 40%, and they were able to increase and improve customer service overall. So that's pretty powerful when you consider that they're a company that many people, maybe even someone in your listening audience, will either have HubSpot or go out and purchase HubSpot, right? Because they have the largest base of customers, right? So from a CRM perspective, I think that's a powerful impact to show you the difference that it can have when you implement it within your organization. And your question was a company that has it versus doesn't, it's almost a no-brainer, right? They're going to increase human cost. And when you increase those human costs, you're also increasing training time, you're increasing error, and then you're just continuing to compound all the other things without it.
Yeah, those are some pretty impressive numbers. Like 25%, that's a lot. And I think many business owners these days shy away from anything artificial intelligence related. But really, I coach my own clients to have a look and explore. Well, when you founded Manobyte, what inspired you to focus on business process automation?
Manobyte started 16 years ago. So that's number one. Prior to starting, I worked at two different Fortune 500 companies in the technology field, helping to implement these types of solutions that we're talking about today. My degree is computer information science. AI is not new, right? And so what's new is the scale and the accessibility in which these tools and the speed in which these tools operate on now. And so that's the difference. But these tools and systems have been around for a long time. It's funny because I look back 10 years ago, I wrote a blog post on Manobyte about natural language processing. And a lot of people are saying, oh, natural language processing, that's important, that's interesting, right? 10 years ago, we talked about it. It wasn't at the scale that it is now. But the reason that we started this was because we always knew there was an easier way. You have to be able to leverage technology to make the lives of people better.
Yeah, I actually have a nickname, Mr. Process, because for a while when I was in transition, I would go to businesses and I'd tell them I can increase your profit by a minimum of 10%. If you just let me sit down and audit some things, I can guarantee you a 10% increase. It was 99% of the work was process automation. You're doing this same thing over and over again. Why are you paying somebody $25 an hour to do that? It doesn't make any sense. We can write you code one time that will do this and it'll do it reliably. Oh, by the way, the code's not going to be out sick one day. And that's one of the things people forget when they do everything manually. You are now reliant on that human being to do those things. And you even find situations where they leave the company and you no longer know how to do the thing that was done because you forgot they did that and you didn't bother to get them to offload that information. But if you automate as much as possible, I actually had a guy on not too long ago and we discussed how it's important to figure out all of your automations first and then hire the staff to fill in the gaps. They have the staff, they figure out what the processes are, and then they do the automation. But really, there's so much that can be automated. It just doesn't make any sense not to. I even use for my coaching clients what I call a process org chart. And I literally have them list, tell me what the purpose of your business is. And now what are all of the things that you do in your business to drive those to that purpose? And those are the things you should be looking at automating. How much of it can be automated? And the more that can be automated, the better, in my opinion. In reason, I'm not the flip the switch guy and walk away and go to the beach. What are some challenges like that businesses face when they try to implement AI for automation?
There are many challenges that they face. We'll start with understanding. I think as humans, we look for and we think about things with the silver bullet perspective. We think, oh, I'm going to bring into our organization automation and AI, and it's going to fix all my problems. No, actually, if you take that mentality and you just come in and you bring in AI and automation without thinking through your business processes and other things from a planning and strategy standpoint, all you're going to do is amplify the existing problems that you already have. So I think it's very important first for businesses to, one, ensure that they have a plan, make sure that they understand what problems they're trying to solve, make sure they understand what are the outcomes. Then they have to address the change management challenge of ensuring that people who are humans aren't going away, but humans have to make sure that they're monitoring and understand and they're adopting these tools, right, in the way that makes sense for the business. So that's another challenge that you have to address. Once you plan it, you got to ensure that you're designing it. We've had many companies who, prior to coming to us, say, we tried this and it failed, so it must not work. No, it's not that it doesn't work, it's that you didn't design it. So there are things like prompt engineering, creating workflows that help you to do the right things, right? Fine tuning large language models. Like all those things are steps that people don't think about because we're living in a world where things are going so fast and people think, oh, all I have to do is type in something in ChatGPT and now I've got AI working within my organization. And that is the furthest thing from the truth.
Yeah, that happens a lot. When you ask people the question, do you use AI in your business? Oh yeah, we use ChatGPT all the time. It's a form of AI, but it really isn't helping you as much as you think, especially if you don't know how to craft the prompts correctly. One thing I was teaching somebody was they were wondering, like, why are the prompts so important? Why can't it just figure things out? So I told them to try one of the image generation AI tools and give it just a simple prompt and then give it a more elaborate prompt and ask it to do the same basic thing and see which one you like better. Obviously, the more elaborate prompt, because it told the machine what it wanted. To me, that's huge. I think actually prompt engineers it's going to become a huge job role in the future that maybe 5 years ago we didn't even think about. It's just interesting.
Yeah.
And us techie people have to learn to roll with that stuff. I think with most change type issues, the most common thing I get back from the expert is, yeah, when I talk to the client, they say they tried it before and it didn't work, so it mustn't work. And they forget that a lot of times it's the way you approached it. It's how it got rolled out, the planning that went into it. It's like any other project. You have to plan it correctly or it's bound to fail. Do you have any success stories where Manobyte helped a client transform their operations with AI?
Yeah. We've got lots of great stories that we could share. Let's talk about one that people know about. One of our customers is NerdWallet. If you've ever gone out to any game, NerdWallet advertisements all over. We help NerdWallet onboard automation solutions to manage their entire processes, right? And we help them from a sales perspective, a marketing perspective, a operations perspective, and a finance perspective. Nerd was able to get a solution that really tied together that entire process. And what this was able to do is because NerdWallet has so many different types of customers at different levels, it was hard for them to see from a finance perspective what's happening with each of the different customers. Where are they in the process? Where are we from a reporting standpoint? The way that makes their money is they have to give results back to their customers. And so it was hard for them to see all of that. So we were able to put together an automation solution that was able to take that entire process and transform the way that they did business and really take them to the next level to be able to simplify all of their initiatives from an automation and AI perspective.
Some key takeaways you got from that experience, though.
Yeah, some great takeaways that we got from that is, number one, you want to make sure that you are involving all the stakeholders to make sure that when you're automating processes, everybody knows what to do and when to do it so that there aren't any drop-offs in the handoffs that happen through the process. Because automation always still involves a human in the loop at various points. And you got to make sure that you're including the right people at the right times in those processes. Another thing that we learned from our rolling out a solution for a NerdWallet is to really ensure that you're taking in edge cases, right? Even a small variation in the process is an important piece that you got to consider. Even though you may be solving for the large number, those small ones really have a big impact, and you've got to make sure that you're addressing those too.
Yeah, that's really interesting because that's something that happens with almost everything that you do in your business. You don't pay attention to the small things get out of control. But by paying attention to the small things, I don't necessarily mean thumbs on top of it, but staying in touch with what's going on, even in the most small areas of your business, it's important. So let's kind of transition to some like a little bit more unusual questions. If AI was a person and you were hiring them to work for you at Manobyte, what qualities would you want them to have?
What qualities would we want for them to have? That's a great question. At Manobyte, we call our employees sharks. And when we call someone a shark, that means that they are successful, that they're hungry, they're assertive, they're responsible, and they're knowledgeable. So those are the core values of the people that we hire at Manobyte. And so I don't think that I would change in what we would hire an AI to do. We'd want them to have those same types of qualities. We want this AI to be successful, meaning that we don't like hallucinations and we don't want you to have hallucinations. So one, you got to be successful. The next one would be being, here I am now, you got to be hungry. I think what we would want from our AI agent who would come into our organization is we want them saying, what, I've done this, I've solved for that. Give me more. I want more things to solve for. We want them to be hungry. Assertive, right? We want them to say, you know what? I know that you said that this is what you're trying to solve for, but based on what I know, you also need to be thinking about X, Y, and Z as well. So we want that AI agent to be thinking beyond what we prompted them to do, but thinking a few steps ahead and give us some suggestions about what it is that we should be thinking about next. Then we'd want them to be responsible, right? Be transparent with the results that you're giving back to us. Don't just put it in a black box, right? Be a good steward. We want you to be responsible. We want you to ensure that you're obeying all the rules and that you're being a good player. And then knowledgeable. We want that agent to be able to always be consuming more knowledge, right? And then helping us to be able to make better decisions as an organization as we move forward every day. Great
Yeah, I
question.
mean, you'd want the same basic things you'd want from any employee. So if you had to explain to a 10-year-old what it is you do at Manobyte, how would you explain it to them?
So what I would say that we do is we help people work smarter and faster.
It's a good way to put it. And when you said smarter and faster, it reminds me of the 4-hour work week. How is that even possible? Because you automate everything. And then you just sit back and watch stuff roll in. Here come the sales contracts. It's funny, but people forget that if they take the time and really break down their job into pieces and automate a good chunk of it, you're more efficient, you get things done faster. It is what it is.
That's better. That's awesome.
So in this world now where we have AI and automation, do you think there's still room for intuition and gut feeling when making business decisions?
Oh, 100%. AI and automation, they aren't creating the vision. They're executing on the vision, right? And so I think that it's our intuition and our gut that allows us to paint the vision. And I think that's always going to be the differentiator.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm a chess player. In chess, you have strategy and you have tactics. And the strategy is, what's the plan? Where do I put my knights? Where do I put my bishops? What kind of pawn structure am I going to use? But then the tactics is how you get there, step by step. And I think that the automation part is more the tactics and it's reacting to the strategy. Like we talked about my process org chart. That's what it's used for, is to help people automate. It's just huge. So I agree with you. I think using your gut, even we talked about ChatGPT. Personally, I tell people all the time, anyone who writes a blog post and just publishes it from what ChatGPT wrote needs to have their head examined. But then that's where it's a great, I remember back in the day, I used to have this boss, and he would say, he was an attorney and I was a paralegal. And he'd say, I need to write a letter to this client to say this, but I'm really angry with them. So can you write the letter and give it to me with changes to me? It was great because I could give him the basis of what he wanted, and then he just made it exactly what he wanted. And I think that's what people should use ChatGPT for. Get the basis down, maybe even just the format of what your sales page should have on it. And then you fill in the blanks, right? It's a tool, and tools don't just build houses. They have to have humans to do that. So you need the human intervention.
Yeah. What's been interesting for us is you have to have tools who are building the solutions. You've got to have really good proofreaders and editors. I think marketers have a new role, right? And I think that role is to vision, edit, curate. But then the other thing I think is we're going to get away from people, and we should get away from this soon, especially at the enterprise level, people using ChatGPT. I think maybe ChatGPT is going to change within the next year, and it needs to change. But ChatGPT has to be a part of the workflow and not the workflow. And I think about a agentic AI where we are having multi-process, multi-step flows that are included, these large language models. And the thing about that is, one, you may want to use ChatGPT for one part of the workflow. You may want to use Claude for another piece, right? And I think we're going to get to a world very soon where you're going to see, oh, we're going to use this to do this part of it. Then I'm going to use this over here. I think people are going to start to see this evolution of.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've actually seen it in practice. I do a lot of watching of videos about how to optimize the YouTube process, because between running multiple businesses, conducting these interviews, and then being able to get the content out as fast as possible, AI plays a big role in my workflow. And what I found was interesting was I watched this video and the guy was talking about how he scripts talking head videos. I don't have to worry about this part, but it was interesting. And what he does is he gets a title that he wants to use, and then he gave it to ChatGPT and he had it ask, what questions would a person have if they saw this title? And it gives the questions. And then he took those along with some links to videos over to Genesis and said, all right, here's these questions and here's these videos. Are there any other questions you'd come up with based off of these videos? They looked at the videos, came back some questions. Then he went back to ChatGPT, and it was like this iterative process. And he used 3 or 4 tools in the end. And when he was done, he had a fantastic script, which then he just went through and made the voice more like his, corrected mistakes that were in there, that sort of stuff. But then it took him, like, in a 20-minute video, he had created an entire script. And also what I thought was impressive about that was he was explaining how he does it as he went, which of course takes time. So that 20 minutes might have been 10. I just think that's how, like in our business, that's how we use GenAI, is strictly to speed up the process for things. Like sometimes I'll take a transcript from one of these episodes and I'll say, okay, this was what the main topic was. Can you find all of the places in the transcript where we talked about this topic? And then I use it to figure out what's going to stay in the video, what's going to leave the video. Did we repeat ourselves? Did we cover the same topic twice? Because that does happen sometimes. It's like a research assistant. You just give it to it, it reads it, it comes back, and now you act on it. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
here's a good one, I think, for our listeners, because the space is changing rapidly. What trends do you see emerging in the AI space? And are there any companies that the listeners should start paying attention to now?
Oh, trend in the space. I think we started to talk a lot about agentic AI. I think that's a big trend that we're starting to see. I think some tools that I like, I think Perplexity is a great tool. I like that tool because it not only includes AI, but it also includes search and enterprise search. And so you're able to combine a couple of things together.
Right.
Reflection is a new model, which I like a lot, because reflection, what that does is a lot of times the big challenge is hallucinations with AI. And what reflection does, it will go back and look for errors that it made before it spits out the output. which I think is very important. And that's good because a lot of people don't know how to check. They aren't checking. And so reflection bakes in some of that checking. And then it also gives you a little bit more transparency because you're able to go through and see what it did and how it got to its output and its resolve. So I think that is cool. I am really digging how AI is being used. There's a tool that we like a lot called WorkGrid. WorkGrid is a very cool tool that allows you to, pull in all of the processes that a human has been doing manually and using AI use cases to be able to automate and generate all the things that are needed for that perspective. So I think that is cool. And then at the enterprise level, I think what's really important, which is a huge trend, is governance. I think about what's happening in California and they, locking down a lot of things. And there's going to be more and more on a global scale of regulations like GDPR. So I think there are tools that are coming out that allow you to have enterprise level governance on your AI to see what's being used, how it's being used, where it's being used. So I think one of my favorite tools is Pretio AI. That's a great tool that we love that's out there to help organizations. And then the last tool and trend that I will lean into, which I think is very important, is security. I think security is super, super important because now someone can just record me for 60 seconds and from here on out, they got my voice. So you can listen to me and then create something that sounds exactly like me with my inflections and everything of that nature. So that is a challenge, right? My face, your face, we're on Tube. You can find us on podcast. So people can easily use GenAI to pretend that they are us, that they're you and me. This happens in the workplace as well on a regular basis. One example, there was not going to list the names, but large organization, people know who they are. Their CEO was spoofed, right, into a Zoom meeting, right, with a chief financial officer. Found out they transferred $25 million to a fictitious organization, right? These are like real challenges and risks that are out there today that are important that we've got to be careful about and then we've got to guard against. So there are tools that exist that are out there that allow you to be able to protect your organization, protect yourselves from these types of risks that are out there. And one of the tools that I think is really great, I'm going to tell you in just 1 second. I got to remember the name of this tool, name of the company. And they are, hold on. Well, there's a company out there that can actually, similar to like when you go to the airport and you've got Clear, what it does is it uses facial recognition and they use other key indicators that will actually validate that this is actually you before it actually allows you to actually perform certain transactions, reset your password. I think there's going to be a surge of tools like that help from a security standpoint. They're going to be needed because it's a big risk. It's a huge risk that we're seeing today.
Yeah, I know something similar happened here in Las Vegas where somebody used the CEO of a casino's voice, put it through AI, and then they called the cash cage and told them they needed them to deliver $250,000 to this courier that was waiting. And the part about that gets me is the silliness of why wouldn't the CEO just walk up to the cage and ask you himself why he's going to call you on the phone? But it worked because it sounded so much like the person that they were used to hearing. It takes the guard down when it's somebody. I one time got a phone call from when we lived in California from Southern California Edison. It came up on my phone as Southern California Edison, but it wasn't Southern California Edison. Yeah. And at first your guard is down because, I know this is that electric company. Why are they calling me? And then they start talking to you and the red flags start going off because you're like, this doesn't sound like how my normal interaction with them goes. So what was the company?
So the name of the company is Encode. And Encode, what they do is that they use facial recognition, they use verification of ID and other sources to ensure that it's actually you and it's mobile enabled. And so they use this really cool technology to ensure that you're protecting yourself financially, your business financially, and your organization. So Encode is the name of the tool. That's really amazing that people should really be thinking about within their organization.
Why don't you let the listeners know where they can find you and connect if they'd like to ask you some questions?
Yeah, that would be great. It's easy enough to come out and see and catch up with us at manobyte.com. And you can come out and listen to us there. If you want to connect with me personally, you can find me on LinkedIn, and we'll be glad to connect and answer any questions that you may have.
Thanks so much for taking the time today to be here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, Mike, this was a blast talking to you. Thanks so much. We look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Yes, cool. So thanks everybody for being here again for another episode of Gaining the Technology Leadership Edge.